Okay, welcome to our webinar of how to get college offers through Get Recruited Consulting and one-of-one life skills. My name is Bruce Badgley, and joining me tonight are the regular cast of characters from the Get Signed and Recruited podcast, Andrew Cohen and Craig Cox. Gentlemen, how are we doing tonight?
We're doing good. Thanks for having us, Coach Badge.
Yeah, and Craig, thank you. And thanks for everybody for joining us here. We appreciate you reaching out. Kind of an important topic, and one that, we've been discussing through our episodes week on week, but we felt that we should tailor some of our broadcasts to individuals. And that's the reason, why we've gone the webinar route this week. Just to let everybody know how I got involved in this. I broadcast high school sports really at the highest level in the state of Pennsylvania. Championships, I work with Penn Live and, Flow Sports, different things like that. The reason I got involved with, Andrew and Craig, I basically attended one of Andrew's camps. It was quite honestly the best camp that I had ever seen run. Really offered the best value to all of the camp attendees. And, since that, it's been a few years, but, Andrew and I have stayed close and really, Andrew, this is all about, helping kids that want to play college football get to the next level, right?
For sure. Definitely want to make sure that we educate people and we give them real, honest, and accurate information that helps them navigate through the recruiting process better.
Yeah, and Craig Cox, Craig, we've gotten to know one another here over the last a few months here since we started doing the podcast, and you've obviously known Code for quite some time, but same thing with you. This is really all about, getting kids to the next level and also helping them make the right decisions, not only for themselves, but their families, correct?
Absolutely. And that's what we focus on, helping them create a game plan for success, not just getting to college, but matriculating, graduating, and being successful at whatever it is they want to do in life.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, we're always available to talk to anybody. Obviously, Coach Cohen there. You can see his contact information up on screen. Coach Cox as well. If you ever have any questions regarding, recruiting or what have you, guidance, it's pretty much open-ended, gentlemen, right? I mean, you'll take a call from anyone and, talk to them about their, best methodology, right, Andrew?
Yes, for sure. We had a great talk with the family, both Coach Cox and myself this week after last week's show. And definitely think we really helped the family put together, the level of play they should be looking at, the level of academic schools. And then they had, to correct me if I'm wrong, 11 or 12 planned questions, right, Coach Cox?
Oh, yeah.
I think it was. And it was probably
they're well prepared.
and it was very well prepared, very bright family. And it was it was fun, and they got a ton of information. So it was a good experience.
And that's what this webinar is going to provide too. We're going to provide a ton of information, but we don't, just leave it, there as well. I mean, that's why we brought that information up on screen there, is the fact that, this is all about, helping guys, get to the next level. And yeah, so why don't we just dive right in, guys? And, obviously this is our special webinar of how to get our special webinar, episode 1. That's kind of new. I thought this was episode 20, but
Yeah,
okay.
This is our first webinar episode, but absolutely, this is episode 20 of our podcast.
Yeah, but we've been doing this a bit, and I get a lot of great comments from everybody as I talk to people, and they're surprised that we do this and get this information out. to everybody. And remember, we have the ability to take questions, so don't hesitate to interact with us through here. But Craig, why don't you talk first about academics?
Absolutely. Before I do that, just if you could remind them on how they can reach out for the questions.
Yeah, for the questions, you can text me in the email. You got my phone number in the signature, so you can text me there. And then you can also reach out to us for questions in the live chat that you're watching as well. So you have two methodologies. Quite honestly, probably the easiest thing there is to send me a text, and let's connect. I mean, the main thing that we're trying to do here is not only inform people, but connect with you, so that because they will have questions, right, Craig? I mean, everybody's got questions about here. The one constant is that everybody's got questions about the recruiting process, right?
I mean, absolutely. And that's why we enjoy doing what we do, because that's our goal, is to help inform parents and students on what they need to know to help themselves in the recruiting process.
So up on screen there, we've got academics, but quite honestly, that's generally the first hurdle that you've got to overcome when it comes to this, right, Craig?
Absolutely. And Coach Cohen, please chime in anytime as we go through this. This is the first thing college coaches have to look at, because they're recruiting a lot of student athletes. So this is the first thing that can get you eliminated from the recruiting process. They're not going to spend a lot of time recruiting you and put you on the board and have all the other coaches on the staff watch your film if you don't pass the test in regards to academics. And so that means, are you eligible from an NCAA standpoint, or do you have the grades to get into school? So the chart, I put this chart on here because I think it's very telling about GPAs, and these are probably weighted GPAs here. Basically, that's the percentage of the schools that you can get into based off of what your GPA is. So even if you have a 3.0 GPA, you're only getting into about half the schools in the country. And so that kind of tells you a lot about, how competitive universities are as far as getting into admissions. So that's the weighted GPA. Now, the difference between weighted and unweighted, the weighted GPA, they count your AP classes usually on a 5.0 scale instead of a 4.0. So that's why you see people, or you may be one of them, who has over a 4.0 GPA. And obviously, the higher your GPA is, the more options, the more choices you want to have. As far as your core GPA, that is what the NCAA is going to look at in regards to your eligibility. Now, your core GPA, they take that off of 16 core classes, and that's your Englishes, your maths, your social science, so chemistry, biology, your history classes, language classes, philosophy, those types of things are your core classes. And they have them categorized by how many of each level you need. And I can go through that real quick. You need 4 Englishes, 3 maths, 2 natural science, and that's your biology or chemistry, an extra math, English, or science, 2 years of social science, so there's your history and your other types of classes like that, and 4 extra ones, and they can include your foreign language or any of the above other categories. But you need 16 of those core classes, and your GPA of those core classes have to be, for Division I, have to be at least a 2.3. Your GPA for Division II in your 16 core classes has to be 2.2 for you to be eligible to play at an NCAA institution for Division II. And like I said, Division I is 2.3. So it's not the art classes or the PE classes, all my favorite classes in school. Shop class, I don't know if they still have do that stuff nowadays. I used to love shop. I get 100 in shop and PE, and
I still have all those cups and cutting boards that I made in.
My mom has all mine. But absolutely, they don't count that in regards to your core GPA. Your core GPA is really about your core classes. So it's important that you make sure that you talk with your guys. If you're interested in going to college and playing at the college level, you need to talk. Make sure your coach knows. You need to make sure your guidance counselor knows as early as you can. So 9th grade year is really your best year to get involved in because you got to get on track to get all your 16 core classes out of the way. And that way you can get your core GPA up as high as you can, because it's going to give you more options for more schools.
And that's part of what you do there at One of One, correct, Craig? You're gonna, kind of take a look at basically do an evaluation of, the academic portion, but so much more related to academics. But this is obviously the first hurdle there. And Andrew, obviously, you've been involved in institutions of high academic standards too. I mean, in coaching. And so talk a little bit about, those types of institutions and, obviously the importance of academics there.
So, I mean, in a general form, I mean, at the Division I level, the Ivy League's going to have the highest academic standards as a group of schools, and they're going to use the unweighted GPA. Right now, no test scores. An unweighted GPA means they're not counting art, gym, music, and other electives. And then probably right below that would be the Patriot League, Colgate, Lehigh, Lafayette, Holy Cross, Bucknell, and Fordham. From the Division III level, the highest grouping would be that small Ivy League schools in New England called the NESCAC. So Amherst and Williams, Bowdoin, Middlebury, Wesleyan, Trinity, Colby, and Bates. They're all great schools at the Division III level. They're going to weigh everything, like strength of schedule for sure, strength of your school, extracurricular activities, and all that. But I mean, we can go on forever with the different academic conferences and all that. As a rule, there's only a few Division II schools that I would classify as being high academically. I would not say one conference over another is really high, but there obviously are some schools at the Division II level that have strong academics.
Yeah, but that's the first hurdle that they've got to go to. And then, obviously, we get into even more specifics now about performance. And, Andrew, when we get into, the types of things, the qualities, by position that these players, should have to have. But talk a little bit about that.
So I'm sorry, you're saying like the specifics of the schools?
Yeah, the qualities of position.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Are you okay, Coach Cox, to go on? Did you have more to say?
I mean, we could talk more later on. I was just going to talk about, what things we can do to help our academics.
Yeah, absolutely.
We can do that as we get into questions.
So I'm going to try to move this.
We can go back there. Go ahead, Craig.
I'm sorry.
You good, Coach Scott?
I am. I'm going to try to move this fairly quick, because what I thought we could do is just tell you some of the core characteristics or qualities that college coaches are going to want by position. Okay, so I started with defensive line, probably because that's my favorite position. But number one would be your takeoff. How quickly can you get off the football? Do you have fast twitch? So they want twitch. I used to put the film in slow motion and see if the guy I was recruiting, was he the first one off the football? And that's what we wanted. Then we wanted pad level. Must be athletic enough to play with a good ankle, knee, and hip flexion, where you can play with your pads underneath the pads of your opponent. Everyone says low man wins, and it's accurate. And then having a high motor. Are you playing fast, relentless, always get to the, if you get to the quarterback and it's a pass, does that guy turn and run and try to tackle the receiver next? So base qualities for D-line. O-line, definitely a little bit different. We want them to be able to move their feet, have fast feet that are in control, never getting their feet either too close together or too far apart, and showing the ability to play at the next level and block linebackers and secondary guys. Being able to efficiently show qualities of run blocking and pass blocking. I just had a client sent me a film, and he's a very good player from California, but a lot of it is passing, which is awesome. Great feet great knee bend, but we want to see some snaps where you're maybe pulling, maybe knocking someone off the football, maybe reaching someone, cutting them off, but just playing with great leverage and moving your feet on contact. And then definitely be a finisher, someone that gets on blocks, never stops their feet, and then puts the defender on their back, hopefully. When you start talking about the skill positions, so right now I'm going to say running backs. I think it's obvious that they have to show speed, but you definitely want to see separation skills, explosiveness, balance, ability to break tackles, whether it's making them miss or those guys that get arm tackles and they don't go down, and it takes more than one guy to get them down. I had a client today said, "Hey, is it okay? Is it good that I have plays where multiple guys are trying to tackle me and they can't bring me down?" I'm like, "Of course it is. That's good." So you want to show multiple skills, catching the ball as well as blocking. Are you physical enough, and are you willing enough to be a good blocker at running back? Receiver, obviously, top end speed, the ability to run past people and show separation skills, the ability to change directions, okay, get in and out of your breaks quickly, have great change of direction, great ball skills, okay, make people miss again, win contested balls. When that ball's in the air, the quarterback has to have confidence that when it's in the air, you're going to come down with it. And the ability to at least show multiple plays of you blocking and being physical and not afraid of contact. I didn't do a lot for quarterback. I really believe quarterback's is probably a show in itself. And I think that every quarterback coach has different things they're looking for. I can tell you they're all looking for a bright young man. They're looking for a leader, quick release. They want to see the ball jump out of your hand. And then with today's, with the athletes that are being put on defense today, most coaches are going to want their quarterbacks to be able to at least escape pressure and extend plays.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So I got two more, linebacker on defense. They got to play sideline to sideline, show great athleticism, toughness, speed. Again, change of direction, ability to move laterally, being a physical player, show different skills. So you want to show a few coverage plays, a few blitz plays, run plays, but something you don't see enough of in high school and college coaches want to see it is being able to destruct the block, get off the block, and then make the tackle. And they definitely want to see that, not just making tackles when no one blocks you. From the defensive backfield, obviously all the physical traits of being fast, tough, quick, but really need to show backpedaling skills, show you can backpedal low, show you're fluid in your movements, you're able to transition forward and transition back. I once spoke to a coach, actually he's the head coach at Wagner right now, Coach Masella, and I asked him what he really looks for, and he said he won't take a DB that doesn't show the ability to catch the ball. So you want to be able to make interceptions and change games that way, but show explosive breaks. I'm always looking how fluid are their hips more than their actual speed are they fluid enough to weave and stay on the receiver. And then something today that Coach Cox and I always talk about, even though they're a corner or a safety, especially at safety, but even a corner, the willingness that they will tackle someone and be physical. So I know that was long-winded. I tried to get as much information about the different positions as I could.
No, but I think too, when you touched on that film, one of the things that was always talked about or that we've gone through in our podcast is, you don't want the uncontested plays in there too, where basically the Red Sea parts and the guy goes and sacks the quarterback when nobody blocks him or what have you. You want contested plays, right, Andrew?
Without question, like a receiver runs down the field, they screw up a coverage and no one's covering you and you catch the ball and you score a touchdown. That's nice. But did you, ask yourself what on this play will excite a college coach? No different, like you said, defensive end rushes the quarterback, makes a sack, but no one blocks him. And we can go on and on about the plays per position for that as well.
Right. And we, we've got the, the highlight episode, in our library of podcasts, as well there. Craig, anything to add, on qualities by position?
Yeah, I thought Coach did a great job. I agree. I think we talked about this a lot, so we agree with a lot of them. I would just touch on, no one thinks of the poor specialists. Kickers, coaches want to see you kicking off the ground, not off of a block. So it's very key. And punters the same. It's okay for punter to show film at practice. It doesn't have to always be game film. You don't always have great opportunities, especially depending on the blocking, up front. So anything else from a specialist standpoint, Coach, you can think of other than that?
No, I think we've covered everything and, the basics. That could be obviously we could talk about
that's
each
a
position all
show.
day.
It's a show in itself. So social media, oh my,
Another one that we've had shows on this, and I just kind of wanted to make sure that we summarize that right now, the number one way that college coaches are finding the student athletes for all sports, but we're talking football right now, is through social media. So they say 90% of the coaches are finding their players on social media, and that's also how they're communicating with them. So you need to be active on social media, especially on Twitter. You're looking on Twitter to post fresh information, videos of you showing multiple skills. Maybe it's playing basketball, running, lifting, obviously your football film, making sure that you're following coaches. This is your resume. This Twitter page, we've talked about this. Your title page needs to have no abbreviations. So we need to know what high school. Don't assume that everyone knows that TTSY is a certain high school. So please spell it out. Put your position, your size, your email, your cell. So this is a business page. You should only be associating with people that are involved with football, or players that are on the football team. You never know what other people might post, and you just got to be careful who you post. So, and then, the college coaches, if they like you, they will communicate with direct messaging on Twitter. So you need to make sure you're checking your Twitter multiple times a day, seeing who is actually reaching out to you. Okay. Okay.
One quick, can I add one thing to that? What you just said, make sure you're available to receive messages. Some people cut that off when they create their account. They're not able to receive messages from people, so the coaches won't be able to direct message you. So make sure you have that checked off so you can get contact.
I'm going to open up a big can of worms here, but right now on Twitter, though, if I'm not following you back, you have to pay for a subscription in order to send me a message.
Yeah.
I don't know if everyone knew that. I forgot what it's called, but it's new now. And so if I want to message Coach Cox and he's not following me back, even though it's open, I still can't message you.
That's why they have to have their contact information in their profile. So if they can't DM them, that the coaches can text you or send you an email, right, Craig?
Absolutely, that definitely helps.
So
we want to make it as easy as possible for coaches to reach.
Be extremely active on social media is really what we're getting at. Twitter is the number one tool for football. Make sure that the amount of coaches that you're following, hundreds and hundreds of college coaches. I know for my page, I have almost 30,000 people that that are following me, and a lot of them are college coaches. And we've joined with Go MVB, and with all of our social media combined, we have over 125,000 followers. All that means is every time we post information on players, thousands of college coaches are seeing it. So even on a lesser number, you need to do that for yourself, and you need to make sure that you're following all the coaches on the staffs of the colleges that you are most interested in. But get it going with social media. Put up a good title page with all the information spelled out clearly, so people aren't frustrated trying to get your stuff. The other thing is make sure your huddle link is right on it. Believe it or not, I have plenty of kids that don't have it. So that's my 2 cents. You guys, if you have anything that you wanted to add.
No, look, you've been very eloquent and right on with everything you've talked about, so far tonight. And as we touched on, I mean, these are all elements of our series of podcasts that are on you know, the one-of-one life skills, right, Craig? You've got these all cataloged for everybody in one spot, right?
Yes, sir. You go to my website, oneofonelifeskills.com/videos, or the video page at the top of my page, and you'll see all 20 of our podcasts, and they cover pretty much every topic you can imagine when it comes to recruiting. So, you know, we do this again to help people learn the process, and that's what we're here for. So reach out to us if you have any questions. Hopefully, Vashli, you'll have some questions popping in from our viewers.
I haven't had any questions yet, but that
either we're really good or everybody's shy.
Yeah, I think so. I think we got some shy people out there, but don't hesitate to get us
on the chat. I've posted my calendar. If someone wants to sign up for a appointment, they can do that. Just wanted to throw that out. I'm sorry.
That's okay. No. Character, that's a pretty broad or a very narrow topic, Craig. Why don't you talk a little bit about how character matters so much in moving on to the next level?
And I talked about this a little bit last week, I believe. I had the opportunity as a college coach to coach players who were getting a lot of NFL interest and actually had an opportunity to play in the NFL. And when scouts come, they do not ask the coaches, do we think they can play in the NFL? They ask us questions about the character. And most of it goes the same for high school coaches to college coaches. College coaches, you know, they're going to know whether you can play at the next level based off your film and what they see you doing in workouts and in camp. What they want to know from your coach is about your character. So what is your coach going to say about you? You know, one thing, to always be positive. And I'm just going to go through a couple of tips that I think are very important. Be positive, especially when things are going bad. I know Coach can agree with me on this. You really get to know your team as a coach when you get hit in the mouth the first time or something goes bad, right? Everybody's smiling and cheery and patting everybody up and, you know, high-fiving everybody when everything's going good and positive. What happens when something negative happens? Do we turn on each other? You know, do we start fighting against inner fighting, all that good stuff? You know, but that's not just as a team, but as an individual. You know, you got to be positive through all things, whether good or bad. Make sure you're uplifting, edifying your teammates. That means, look, if they make a mistake, build them up, help them up. Don't continue to beat them down and be negative to them. You got to help build your teammates. That creates you as a leader, is what that is.
But this is stuff that the coach, you know, that you want to obviously portray to the coach, because ultimately they're the ones that are really going to be your, you know, the stamp of approval related to character, right?
Right. And be coachable. You know, we all got things we can get better at. I know I got a whole lot, and my wife tells me a bunch of them all the time that I could do better at, right? But always be coachable. Coaching is, you know, when the coach tells you to do something a different way, you know, just understand they're out for their best interest. Everybody's in this, you know, for the same reason, to help make you better and to help make the program better and help you win. So be coachable. Don't take it in a negative light. Be respectful. Always try to leave a good impression on everyone you see. This means everybody in your school, because when a coach really is recruiting you and they come to your school, they're not just talking to the coach, right? They're going to talk to the guidance counselor. They may talk to your teachers. They're going to talk to an assistant principal. So you can't just, you know, show one face to the coach and other faces everywhere else, because it'll get out there. And so make yourself the best recruit you can be. So be respectful to everybody. Be willing to serve. Find a charity, a cause, or a cause that you're passionate about. Give back, because that builds character more than anything, Coach. And I know we talked about that a little bit the other day. Those moments are what makes us grow the most, is when we give back to something we're passionate about. And let me touch on just the academic part again, just things that, just tips about how to make sure you where you need to be academically. The first thing is you got to make it important to you. One of the biggest turnoffs for me as a coach, when I go talk to a student athlete or recruit somebody I'm recruiting, I ask them what their GPA is, and like, I don't know, you know.
Totally agree.
Yeah, that tells me you probably don't care very much. It's probably not that high, and maybe you're a little ashamed of it. I don't know what it is. Maybe guidance hasn't got you the transcript you need yet. That happens sometimes, but find a way to get your GPA, not just your overall, your weighted GPA, but also know what your core GPA is. Make an invest, be proactive in that. Make sure that you know what that is. So when coaches ask you, you can spit it out and then let them know, coach, this is my goal for this week. For this semester, I'm gonna get it up to this. I know what I got to do to get my GPA up to a certain level. Don't miss class. Don't be tardy. That's one thing I always looked at on transcripts that I don't think a lot of coaches looked at, Coach Cohen. I don't know if y'all staff did a lot. I know ours didn't pay much attention to it. I always had to bring it up. This kid missed 20 days a year, to every year of his high school career. I mean, that's not a good sign. Make sure you're in class. Make sure you sit in front of the class and ask questions. Let the teachers know that you are interested and that you want to make a good grade in that class. Then that goes a long ways. If you do those things and you turn in your assignments on time, it's very hard to fail. All right, it's very hard to fail. Set yourself up for success, and be proactive in all of your academics and in the recruiting process in general. I know we had a whole show basically about being proactive in all these. So that was my spill on the academic part. So be proactive about your future.
Yeah, and I think we can be proud about all the topics that we covered in the detail that we did and how we're going to continue to do that. This is an ongoing process. I mean, even though we're having our, webinar here tonight, this is going to be an ongoing process of informing parents, informing players, throughout that. So talked about character. Andrew, anything more you want to add regarding character?
I always used to say, character is someone that is willing to work their hardest in whatever they do, whether someone is watching them or not. To me, that's a person of high character, whether it's in a weight room, whether it's studying, whatever it might be. So do the right things all the time, whether you're being held accountable for those things or not. So.
Yeah, good stuff. All good stuff. I mean, and it's probably the only, we talk about it a lot in the podcast, but maybe important topic that we should just focus one broadcast, on that. Quite honestly, I didn't have any questions from the guys out there. I'm going to stop the share because I can't see my YouTube stuff here that I'm going to pull up, and we'll see if I've got anything on the chat. I didn't see anything, regarding the chat there. We obviously have, a lot of guys that are taking it all in. I'm sure they're probably taking good notes for, the show or whatever like that. But I'll tell you what, the key thing that we all talked about is the fact that there's so much information that everybody needs and be educated on as they get through this process. And I can't tell you the amount of guys and the amount of families that, when I go up to and ask them questions about the recruiting process or what's going on, and they just shake their head. And that's what these podcasts, that's what these webinars are all about, is so that there's no head shaking. There's like, oh yeah, we're doing that. Right, Andrew? I mean, this is what we need to do.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's no real book that tells you everything you're supposed to do. So I think anytime that you're able to ask people like Coach Cox or myself or Coach Badgley that have experience, like I tell people, I had a 22-year internship of being a college coach, you know what I mean? And that really is helpful. And then along with that, the last 10 years has been unbelievable. The amount of coaches I talk to on a regular basis, high school, college, and just different people, and learning about the process and learning about what coaches like or don't like. And should I do this? Should I do that? So there's a million questions that can be asked from an academic point of view for Coach Cox or mine from the football and everything. So take advantage of that. You'll enjoy talking with us and enjoy it for sure. Coach, Coach Badge, do you still have the the $99 offer available?
I
or-
do. That was you read
So-
my mind, because that's basically what I was going to bring up next here.
We
Is that
had
you do-
one, Coach Cox and I had one over an hour last week that was outstanding. It was, like I just said earlier, great questions and everything, but I'm gonna add to it also, if someone signs up for this, we'll also post them on our Twitter page and make sure that as many college coaches as possible are getting their information, just an added bonus, but obviously a film eval to tell you what level you are, what schools you should be looking at, social media assessment, academic evaluation, top to bottom by Coach Cox, and then just be ready to ask us as many questions as you can. And this will be done on a phone call. So, really
the only thing that I can add about this college recruiting process is this is a competitive event, just like you're going out and playing football. Okay. Competitive event in the fact that you're not competing against another team. You're competing against players from all over the country. You're competing against college players who are out there in the transfer portal. And, what are you doing to try and, make yourself better? That's what this particular program that Coach Cox and Coach Cohen have for you, and how you can be the best that you can be to compete in the game of college football recruiting. Right, Craig?
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's basically what we're about. How to make you the best recruit you can be. And that's what we want to teach you, and help give you that game plan on what you need to do to be the best recruit you can be, whether it's the film, the social media, your academics, and learning the things that you need to do to be successful through college. That is our goal. And that's why I started working with Coach Cohen a few years ago. And he's the only recruiting service I ever refer to any of my students, because we have the same goals. We want to see not just the student athletes, these young men, and get to college, but to matriculate, graduate, and be successful in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, Andrew.
No, I just said, well said. I think that's a good point.
Yeah, and that, like I said, for me, you talk about the fact that all I can say is that I've seen lots. I've been to lots of camps. There's a lot of guys that I should say a lot. There's a few gentlemen out there that may call themselves, recruiting services, but the type of personal approach that both of you gentlemen do to make sure that that particular family and that particular player is given every opportunity to be successful. You're their recruiting coach. I mean, just like they've got a position coach in high school, you're the recruiting coach to get them to play sports at the next level. And the sooner I think that athletes realize the fact that they need help, just like that they're going to trainers, they've got position coaches. Hey, just like with Go MVP, that's their public relations firm. Okay. And you guys are the ones that basically connect that all up, connect them, make sure that they're focusing their efforts to get to the next level the best way possible so that they can be successful, so that they can play college football. Right, Andrew?
Yes, I agree. Very much so. We're here to help, and Coach Cox is a great person. So is Coach Badge. They want to help people out, and that's why we're in it. This is what we do for a living, but you got to love what you do, and you got to be passionate about it.
Yeah, and up on screen again, I put both of you gentlemen's contact information so that everybody can get a hold of you, because you're as close as just picking up the phone or sending a text or sending an email. We do this all the time in our podcast. We'll do this here in our webinars, and I'm sure this is probably the start of some nice webinars here too. And hopefully next time we'll have our audience, maybe sometimes everybody's just kind of in the background here, and that's fine too. But remember, if a question comes in your mind and you're happen to, go around and like, oh man, I have that question to Coach Cohen, and they walk out of practice or something, hey, give them a call and be glad to just pick up the phone or answer a text. Regardless. I mean, how late do you usually take calls? So, Andrew, I guess that's a good question.
I try to stop off at about 9 or 9:30, to be honest with you. I'm an early guy. I like to go to bed early.
Craig, how about you? I mean, before
sleep.
9 o'clock, I think.
I'm pretty much available anytime. I don't sleep much. I got
Well,
a 4-year-old that doesn't allow it. So
wow. Anything that you guys want to, cover here, in summary? I mean, like we said, we have all of our podcasts that are available. They're cataloged on One of One Life Skills, and they're also on my Sports Stream Premium network as well. But we're always available to help anybody out, and I think that's the overriding thing here too. There's a lot of different ways to go, but Coach Cohen and Coach Cox pointing you on that path to make you. They're putting you in position to be successful in the recruiting process, just like your offensive line coach is putting you in the right spot on that draw play. I mean, it is exactly the same thing. These are college coaches that know what they're doing, and you really need to get involved with them. So, but I didn't have anything more, guys. Anything?
That's it. I think that was a good show, and hope everyone has a good evening. And thank you for your time listening.
did we freeze? There we go.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Have a blessed night.
Have a good night.
All right. See you later.